Why, thank you.
I love it's my favorite color.
You have great taste.
Stop to the TikTok, stop to the TikTok, stop to the Come inside, take off your coat, I'll make you feel at home. Now let's pour a glass of
What's up? What's up? What's up? What's going on, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the In the Zone podcast. It is your man, B. Foster. Brian Foster's in the building. Well, we are not officially in the building because we are not in studio. We thought the snow was going to be a little bit crazier than it turned out to be. And as y'all know, your boy lives in the burbs, and that's a trek. So I kind of punked out and decided to do it streaming. And we didn't get as much snow as we thought. So my bad. Anyway, we go kick it regardless. Welcome to another Wednesday. I hope everybody is hunkered down. I'm sure many of you all work from home. So I anticipate a lot of you all are going to tune in because fuck else you doing? Nothing. Drinking. Right. So let's get into it. Let me welcome in my co-hostess with the mostest, of course, Miss Gina B. How are you, lady?
Hey, now see, because you catch me at home, now you got to deal with my animals, right? So now we've got Tiki coming. She's gonna join me in our conversation. Hey, babe, say hi. And yeah, this is a fun one because I love music, and I'm happy to meet our guests.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let me bring them in. So we've got our man, 50 Grand. He has been on the show many a times. He is the ultimate loser in many of our drafts.
Wait a minute.
Frequently took second place to me, so he was the most worthy competition I had. My boy, DJ's favorite DJ, my man, Focus. What's up, boy?
Hey, what's happening, bro? Everything except that one little tidbit about losing is accurate. How you doing? Glad to be back. It's been a while since we've been on, man. I'm happy to be back.
It has been a minute. Glad to see you back.
Man, I'm glad you're still doing your thing.
Oh man, hey, we got to hang around. Sean kept me afloat.
Absolutely. Shout out Sean.
What up, Sean? With your,
yeah, we're still moving
into her palatial estate.
Her palatial crib. Awesome.
You know you got real money when it takes you a month to move in your spot.
No.
I got 2 boxes in a garbage bag. I'm in a day, but you know, hey,
whatever.
That's my broke man. And then we got 2 newbies to the show, but not newbies to me. To my bottom left, I don't know how she appears on you all screen. She's was a contributor on the Blackboard. She hasn't been on the In the Zone podcast, and I've been waiting. I've been watching her. I've been holding out for the right topic, and I thought this one was it. It's my girl, Crystal. What's up, Crystal?
How you doing?
I'm good. How you doing? Uh-oh. See. Uh-oh, now I heard Gina's animals ran again. And then, my bad. We got one of my oldest, and by oldest, I mean old, one of my dearest, one of my closest. Me and this young lady go back decades. Love her to death. One of my besties, my girl Alexis. What's going on, A-Town?
Hey, don't ever call me old again because you're older than me.
I own my oldness though. I'm fine.
Me too.
I embrace it. So thank you guys for joining me. Let's dive right in. So today, so I was having this conversation with Chantel, and this is how this topic came up. And I was actually having this conversation with somebody else, and we were lamenting the lack of true, I won't say not true R&B. I won't say that because there's some real R&B out in the world right now. Mm-hmm. But most of it is not what we would deem romantic. Even the Scissors and the and all those folks, it's like, do I hate you, bitch? Yes, I hate you, nigga. I hate you. You broken heart, fuck you. Like it's a lot of brokenheartedness in these songs. And I was debating whether or not the current state of R&B, hip hop music in general, does that play into how our younger adults and teenagers and everything, how they see love and deal with romance? Then I started thinking, So if they were affected or are affected by the music they're listening to, were we?
Mm.
Like so I started with I Want to Sex You Up. That was my college years. And I was on some freaky bullshit in college. Was that because I was just on some freaky bullshit? Or was that because I Want to Sex You Up was like the soundtrack to my college years? Was it a mirror?
Was
Or
life imitating art, or
yeah,
was art
exactly.
imitating life?
So kind of wanted to dive into this and wanted to make sure we had representation throughout the decades. So I wanted someone closer to their 20s, 30s, someone closer to their 30s, 40s, and then us old folk gonna chime in. We're gonna talk about the Temptations and Marvin Gaye. But anyway,
I invited my dad. Yeah. Okay. Let's see.
Us. That's like our parents.
Wow.
that's our parents. I know, but I'm gonna rep my mom
Oh,
on this.
yeah.
So I do want to ask. Let's start off with this. When you grew up, what were the big slow songs of the era when you were like a shorty? I'm talking like when you were old enough to know 8, 9, 10, 13, like when you were coming up. What for high school? What were the big songs that like were R&B or hip hop that were like on the romantic tip? Focus. What was start us off?
Oh man, we the 90s, right? The most impressionable years as a teenager. I feel like we had a gang of stuff. You had your slow romantic love songs like End of the Road, Boys to Men, End of the Road. You had your freaky deaky stuff like Sex You Up and Pony, Genuine's Pony. Matter of fact, that album, the Bachelor album, had a couple of things on there that really steered the course of my teenage years. What if you really wanted to be or feel like you were grown, you had Maxwell. Maxwell was hitting hard in the 90s.
Maxwell was, yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever, whatever. Was that the name of the title of the song?
Whatever. Yeah. You had then you had let's go there, right? So we talked about Telling Me Bad, Sex You Up. But if you want to really, yeah, Sade came out. She her first album of the 90s was the one with No Ordinary Love on it.
Yeah,
So you had that.
Dropped in the 80s, yeah.
Yeah, but if you want to talk about the freaky deaky and is art imitate life or life imitate art, well, let's talk about the Jodeci's, the Freaking You's, the
Let me lick you up and down till you say stop.
yeah, exactly. You took it right out of my mouth, Miss Genevieve. H-Town, Knocking the Boots, right? Like that was and was it influential? I'm gonna go out and say, heck yeah, it was influential. It was, you know, those were the songs you found on the mixtape or CD, depending on what you were rocking to get the thing going or whatever. And I know we're not really, it's really a taboo area, but you can't mention 90s R&B without saying R. Kelly. And
Facts.
I mean, granted, you know, we are where we are with him right now, but back then,
Yeah, those
R.
songs.
Kelly was R&B.
Facts. Can't argue that.
I
Can't
can't.
argue that.
Those songs have now taken on new meaning, so it's like.
Oh, absolutely, Miss Genevieve. No argument for me there. But back then,
Yeah.
He made 12 play.
12 play. I'm not gonna have that conversation with my elders, my uncles, and about I'm going to talk to R. Kelly. We go, okay, that's what I'm supposed to do. Right. Ooh.
Right. Instructional. Okay, gotcha.
All right,
Instructional.
Alexis, what you got? What you think?
So, you know, being the eldest, we came like before we were out of elementary and grammar school, we were singing As We Lay. Like some things were going down. I saw sunlight shining on his face, you know what I mean? And knew she would never understand. So, and before that, we were singing about Candy Rain and Look at Me Everywhere, you know, Juicy Fruit. Like, portion of me unaware, but there was a portion of me that was very aware, you know what I mean? So I think, like, when I think about my kids now, like, there totally was no Kids Bop for us. So we got all the unadulterated, unfiltered, this is what the lyrics are, baby. Cover your ears. Okay. Right. So I think we kind of came into this thing with like our curiosity lit on fire because it was all around us. We kept hearing it. And you can't, I mean, yes, there are lyrics, but there's also the music that makes you feel a certain way, whether you heard it with the vocals or without. It made you want to activate.
Activate. I like
I,
that.
I like that. Activate.
Definitely. I don't know about you guys, but like, even when I was younger, the old school slow jams were, there was a radio station that I feel like played old school slow jams at some point in the evening or at some day. I can't remember what day it was, but my parents were always pushing me more toward those because they were the less like, freak you up and down, it's
Less lustful.
Yeah. So I still really appreciated things like, Shalimar, and like nicer, like more romantic slow jams as opposed to, grinding or whatever it was. You know what I mean? Like that was still a big appreciation. Like House Is Not a Home. My mother used to love, like all the Luther stuff was big. And just the kind of, what was the other one? It was Shalimar that everyone used to like, and then like people would play DeBarge, right? And so this is before we knew Elle had a drug problem, but I mean, it's like people played DeBarge a lot, and those were like kind of more on the innocent side.
Yeah.
So those were kind of dope.
All right, Christelle, what you got?
Had DeBarge, Janet Jackson, Luther Vandross, Sade. I had more of like the slow jam because my mom was like, "This is too much." Like she would hear something a little bit, something. She would click. Like, no, we're not listening to that. So I didn't really get to enjoy R&B as much. I mean, I think where it got a little crazy was with Tyrese. I think I was like, "Oh, this is interesting. He's getting a little bit, a little rated R-ish, but it was tolerable, at least for my family. It was tolerable."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look, Signs of Love Making. That kind of started tipping it over, and then he took it a little crazy, and then what Tank just like, Tank and Chris Brown just went a whole nother route. So so coming up, like, so my mom, got me into like Motown and everything and old school. So when I was a shorty, I was listening to the Temps and the Four Tops and all that. And that was Let Me Give You a Flower. You smell like the honeys and bees. Like, like, oh, I love you, girl. Like that was all that, Jackson 5, romantical, like stuff. But then you had the flip side. So you had the, Marvin Gaye got a little, sexual healing. You had a little bit of that in there. And then you had Teddy P. Take him off, like he got aggressive, right? Like, but it wasn't like over the top. But Teddy P was a little, a little sexual with his. So
A little.
but it wasn't as overt. I mean, it was sexual, no doubt, but it wasn't as overt. I mean, take them off, yeah, that's fine. I mean, that's a little.
You got what I need.
You got what? But I mean, that could be popcorn. I don't know what that is when I'm 8, but
you know what that is.
Yeah, I know what that is. But then it's flipped. I'm sorry, what were you saying, Chris?
It was so much more tasteful. Like when I would hear music back, more of like a feeling. Like I daydreamed about love, and daydreamed about maybe one day making love, right? And then I don't know what happened where it just seemed like a porno in my head when the music started coming out.
Luther Campbell.
Oh yeah, he was huge, right?
Like porn.
Yeah, no, agreed. And it was like, so New Edition, popcorn love. That's what I'm into. Like that's all sweet and all innocent or whatever. And then, and there was always some some pushing the boundaries a little bit. But you had, the best of both worlds. And even in hip hop, you had like LL's like I Need Love. Like it was kind of smooth, and even hip hop had kind of like some love songs to it. Now obviously hip hop took it to a whole. We can get that later to a whole nother thing.
But what about how Prince played a role?
Good point.
Okay. And with my purple theme, brother, I challenge anyone to find more romantic lyrics than Adore.
Oh, very much so. Very much so.
If I was your girlfriend.
If God one day struck me blind, your beauty I still see. Love's
Yeah.
too weak to find just what you mean. I'm like, come on.
But-
Like,
But there was something about his energy that implied that, I mean, it's double entendre consistently, right?
Prince was a nasty little I mean, let's be clear, but like,
You know, and it's like, so because those lyrics were innocent, but what did they really mean? And you know, you still had like Millie Jackson, like you have some really seedy music. So I feel like there's always multiple sets within R&B. And then when we got to neo soul, like all of that stuff is in there, but Prince, the ultimate, definitely.
well, but you know, the thing is, it used to be, at least it used to be where people, songwriters had to be, you know, the masters of double entendre, right? And they had to be kind of clever with their lyrics in order to even get them played on the radio, which was the only medium of exposure that they
Yeah.
had at the time. So if you didn't want to get shut off the radio, then you would figure out how you were going to say something without saying something. You know what I
Right.
mean? And now it's just like, we fucking, you know what I mean? And so now there's no pretense and no one cares about the radio. And
It's,
Right.
it's crazy how the clean versions don't even attempt to fully blur out
Right.
the, you know,
We have
it's,
fine, clean, and they're streaming.
Right.
So like you just said, like no one really listens to the radio. Like younger people are all about
screaming, yeah.
voice and streaming. So why do I have to go through this channel to hear what I want to when I can create my own narrative by selecting the songs? Like we were held hostage by what we heard on the radio. Not held hostage, but you know, we didn't have a choice. And you had to listen to the whole song because you couldn't, you know what I mean? And now everything's available.
everything, whatever you want, and things you don't want.
Right.
Hear you.
Transitioning out of that because the older we get, you're having children and things like that, we're realizing that it's too much. Like, you don't, or you're saying, you don't want to be driving down the road and then, you know, you see a nice family coming out of Macy's and you're talking about digging you down in the couch. And it's just like, oh my God, it is so embarrassing. I have to lower it when I see families. So embarrassing.
Or
Oh,
when
but
you're
you
with
played it though. But you playing it.
I'm playing it, but even I've gotten to the point where I'm getting turned off by it. I'm not even gonna lie, because I'm the kind of person who used to daydream. I enjoy the what's it called? Kind of like the what's the word when we're gonna like start, like it's starting up. I like the starting up of it. I don't like it going straight to it. I don't know.
Oh,
I think to me
foreplay?
that's more sexy, even in real life.
So yeah, no,
I'm
with
sorry.
No, so no, we were saying so you the foreplay of it all.
Yeah, I enjoy more of the foreplay of it all. I don't want to go straight to it because even guys are starting to reflect that in person. Like when they try to holler at you, they go straight to it. They're like, "Yo, what's up?
Yeah.
I get that ass." And you're like, "Whoa, whoa."
That's
No, I-
definitely some move.
Yeah, so I'm curious. So I want to we're gonna dive into that because I think that's the crux of this conversation, right, Christelle? Like, is that because is the music reflecting just where we're at, or are they just what they're hearing permeating them into and pushing them into that action? But I do want to tell a quick funny story. I think I've told it on the show before, but everybody probably hasn't heard it. So I'm maybe 13, 14, something like that, and Cheryl Pepsi Riley, "Thanks for My Child," comes on the radio. Now this is risque at the time, right? Thanks for my child. And I'm singing it. We in the car, and I'm singing it, and thanks for my child. My mama driving, she pulls over, and she says, "This is my sex talk. The only sex talk I ever got. Don't you bring no babies in this house," and throws some condoms at me, and then starts driving again.
I think that was the universal sex talk back in the days, because mine was something similar to that.
Yeah, that's all I got. And then I sat there with the
No,
condoms in my lap for a good mile, like.
What I would get was like my mom would be like, you know what that means? Do you know what that means? And I'm no, but I knew what it meant. I couldn't really conceptualize it, but I knew that it had something to do with making a baby.
Right.
Good
No,
enough.
I had a very detailed conversation with my mother. My mother was very unusual. So we were always talking. She never left out any details. So yes, that's all I'll say.
Mine was similar, Brian. Don't bring no babies home. You're gonna be on your own. My mother scared me. She's like, you bring home babies, I'm not babysitting. But I did get a more detailed talk, obviously, but not obviously, but I did get a more detailed talk. But that was the thing that stuck with me. And probably the reason why I don't have children today.
Oh, wow.
That's a hell of a talk. That is
That
a
was
hell
a
of
strong talk, wasn't it?
That was traumatic.
I was like, we good. Okay.
She scarred you for life.
right. Right. No worries, Mom. You got it.
Point taken forever.
Ever. You may as well-
So we touched on some of the things that were floating around when we were in our younger years. And I'm assuming a lot of this was, let's say pre sexual activity. As we got a little older, we're in our college years, right? Late high school, college years, or young adulthood, if you went to the army or just went straight to work, or whatever you did. What kind of music was playing then? For me, Dennis already kind of touched on it. R. Kelly was out heavy. You had Silk, you had Jodeci, you had the Boyz II Men, Sade, Anita Baker. But those were even like later in high school. But when the Silks and the Jodecis and the H Towns and all those type of groups and folks started coming out, it got a little more overt. The Color Me Bads got a little bit more overt. And you still had the Johnny Gills and the New Editions and the Luther and the Whitneys like still doing their thing. But you had this. So I would make playlists, right, like tapes, and one side would be kind of romantic, and I'll call that Quiet Rain, and it had your Sade, your Luther, you kind of set the mood, and then on the flip of that joint would be Quiet Storm, and that's when the storm was coming, baby, and that's when the freaky shit would get played. So, so what was
tapes to it? What would you? Yeah, would that be your? Would you use them or would you give them to people?
No. You could not have my creations.
Oh, I was copying and selling them. Hey, y'all need to get this goodness.
Enterprise.
Sure.
No. You had to have been enjoying the pleasure of my company to enjoy these musical creations that I crafted.
Hey, I feel you, Foss, but I was broke. I needed to come up with some money any kind of way I could.
So you were curating experiences early.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's right, I was. You're damn right I was. And Dennis was DJing early. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely.
So Focus, when you were a little bit older,
Mhm.
you kind of get your little swerve in now. What was your soundtrack?
So at that point, we're talking late 90s, early 2000s. That's when you had Next 112. But we were also getting into the neo soul era, if you remember that. So you got D'Angelo coming, you got Badu coming, as well as some of the older artists that were still putting out fire. When did LSG come out? Somewhere around that time.
Somewhere around that time.
Yeah, so I feel like that was kind of a treat to have the newer R&B coming, which was pretty fire if you ask me. Next 112, Jagged Edge, Brandy was hot, Usher was making his debut. All of that stuff. Missy was coming along. I mean, outside, Missy's B-side stuff was fire.
Mm-hmm.
TLC was still around, Aaliyah was still being played. So yeah, we had all of that. Blackstreet, now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
Before I Let Go,
I Let Go.
What? Yeah.
Yeah. So Chris, when you were hitting the 18, 19, 20, 21, what were you vibing to? Yeah, Christophe, what were you vibing to?
I was vibing to when I was 19, I was vibing to Drake. Like that was, to me, it was R&B. But before then, it was like Joe, Avant, Ashanti,
Oh yeah.
Drew Hill. Oh my God. I mean, the thing is, like, I don't even listen to that stuff anymore because now I'm obsessed with just like Red Fires and like Drake and Trace. I'm obsessed. I got obsessed with that. I kind of transitioned out of that as soon as like R&B and hip hop kind of had like a surge. But I think like I stopped listening around, about 19 was when I was like, okay, I can't listen to Avant anymore. None of these boys like this stuff. They're like, why are you listening to this? Oh, click, listen to this.
Brent Fires is nice.
I like Red Fire. Yeah.
Very.
Alexis, we the same age, so I'm sure you listen to the same kind of stuff. But what else were you into?
I mean, I was heavy into neo soul, and for us, that was like the end of college, right? So like Maxwell, D'Angelo, yeah, in terms of, romantic. And when you think about that playlist, right? But I forgot, I was just thinking like I forgot about Drew Hill, like Dawn Song and all that stuff. Like that was, I mean, thinking about one of the moments where music just took a turn and it was like, here it is in your face, dong, 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 and we were all like, and then the next thing you knew, we were all singing it. So I think that the music is guiding us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who would have predicted WAP, right?
What's that, G?
No matter what, I can never get into Maxwell. I want to like Maxwell so bad, but I just can't.
Maxwell.
Is it too soft? Is it too?
I feel uncomfortable when he hits those high notes.
Oh,
Oh.
you don't.
Hi, what is that?
So the falsetto's not doing it for you. Okay. G, what
I
were
think-
you into? What were you into?
No, go ahead, Gina.
Oh, I was just gonna say, you know what? The whole decade of the 90s was like I feel like that was my musical decade. Like I loved the 90s. I loved 90s R&B and hip hop so much. And I always tell people if I could just go back and live it over again, because it was just so it was so rich with creativity. And that was when like you heard a lot of R&B with like infused rap lyrics, and that was when we actually really had rappers and really had like real R&B lyricists. And so I would just, I loved like the early neo soul. I loved it before, I don't know, music just started getting like too overt after a while. I like the creativity aspect of it. Being a writer, I have always appreciated kind of the creative use of wording. And so that's why I tend to prefer music that have more double entendres and just things that we had to kind of figure out and decipher. So the 90s was like my jam, the whole of the 90s.
So I got a question because we've mentioned a couple of times, it being more overt. And my question is it just that it was more available? It was being pushed out across different media? Because if you listen to the blues, titles like growing up as a kid in my grandfather's basement, I was listening to songs like Meet Me With Your Black Drawers On.
Okay. Have you seen My Rooster? Yeah.
Yeah, Stroking, Clarence Carter.
Carter, yeah.
The blues wasn't being played on the radio.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Blues wasn't being played on the radio like that. And as things progressed, I think it started to, my opinion, I think it was there. It just started to now become more common.
Well, you know what? I think it kind of followed radio. Okay, so my dad's a blues artist. My dad was a blues artist. And so when I would go to his shows, I would be like, Dad, are you really singing that? Like, this is so embarrassing. Like he was singing that. I was like, what? And so, but if you think about like back when blues was a popular musical, genre, there was not a lot of radio play for blues.
Right. I agree.
So when they started, and I think it was VON, was one of the early radio stations at the time that started playing a lot of blues, and you ended up getting a lot of like Chess Records and stuff on that station. They had to clean a lot of that stuff up for radio and white people, right? And they had to, because you had a lot of blacks and Jews, and the joke was blacks and Jews make blues, whatever. So but you had
Wow.
well, no, this is the Jewish people making that. Like that's like the Chess Records, people, like the people that owned it would say that. But yeah, so that was like more like clubby music. Like you would go to a club and hear maybe With Your Black Drawers On, and then when more music got pushed onto the radio, then it all needed to be clean. Otherwise, you weren't getting played. And I think when radio kind of tapered off as a primary form of music distribution, things kind of, got a little filthy again.
I think the birth of Napster changed a lot of things, because when Napster came out, you could download songs that they hadn't heard in so long. It just started changing everything. It changed the game. You were like, y'all were listening to this, or you got this kind of music? Oh my God. And then it just started flowing, and then SoundCloud came out, and then Spotify came out, and it just got crazy. The availability and just people getting the opportunity to share their version of sexy or their version of love, passion. And I think that was what ultimately changed everything. But it did start, I think it did start mirroring us, but we also started kind of riding the waves of this kind of music to create more of it so people can buy it. Because we made music that sells, so we'll try and do the same thing and recreate it over and over in different kind of ways to get it sold. So I don't think it's just, people were doing it because in their soul, they were like, no, this is what's selling. So let's make like 500 songs of being that coochie up.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great point. Let me ask that, going into that kind of leads me into where we are today. And I'm wondering, are you all, so I know I'm guilty of, like, I still listen to the radio. I'll still throw on GCI or whatever, every 92.3. But given my druthers, if I'm going to my title or whatever, on my playlist, 90s music and old school hip hop, and I keep falling back into that, right? So are you all listening to current music? It doesn't even have to be R&B, because I don't even know if current R&B exists like it used to. So are you all still kind of checking out what's new in these streets? I sound old. What's out right now? Or do you just consistently listen to the stuff I know, Gina, you said like the 90s was your jam. You just find
Yeah, but I still listen to new stuff.
You do listen to the new stuff?
I do. Like, honestly, I like right now, who do I like? I like Doja Cat. I like Doja. I think she's cute. And I like her, her songs are like
cute.
She's cute. And her son, she's
Right.
an odd little thing. But no, I think she's, but I like her, but I like her song. You know what I mean? I'll sing along, like, and I also, I'm biased, but the group that I love right now is, do you guys listen to Silk Sonic?
Yes.
Bruno Mars. If you ever get a chance to see them in concert, it will probably be the best show you've seen in a long time. They're amazing. But yeah, they're making real R&B. I saw an artist, who did I see? Malia, do you know who she is?
Yes. I've heard her stuff.
I like her. So I do listen to a fair amount. I try to stay kind of current with music whenever I can. But I go back to the 90s.
Emo rap, emo R&B, that's what I like. I like feeling sad, depressed, and in love. That's what I
Wait. I am a little bit upset that sad, depressed, and in love were all in this one big, like, why love got to put up in your sadness?
Well, I mean, because the emo rap and the emo R&B has like that grunge feel with that rock and a little bit of funk and a little bit of like electro. I don't know. I just like that vibe. I prefer it. I dress in black all the time. And no, I don't think that love's sad and depressing, but I prefer my love music to be sad and depressing.
Okay. So who are you into right now? Like who's your favorite artist right now?
Juice WRLD, Little Uzi Vert, like I said a billion times, Drake. I do like Doja Cat. God, no, I think I'm obsessed with Juice WRLD. I should probably like slow down, but I'm not going to slow down. I'm going to listen to stuff over and over until my brain pops.
Okay. You and Gina should have a listening party. I'm with that. Alexis, what are you listening to right now?
Well, I have teenagers, so I listen to everything, but like Juice WRLD, I've even heard some King Von, Malia's on my playlist, Brent Faiyaz, definitely Drake, Travis Scott, Lil Baby, specifically Lil Baby, not Dub Baby, but Lil Baby.
Lil
There's too many damn babies.
I need to know what's going on. SZA's on there. Summer Walker, is that her name?
Summer Walker, yep.
And off because they're all crying. You know what I mean? But I remember when I used to hold on to my little radio and listen to Sade, and my mother was like, "Girl, you are gonna cry yourself out of this world." So I can feel Christelle when she talks about like that emo R&B. But I do feel like the genres are kind of like, I think currently it's really a mashup of genres, because like if I go on Tidal or Spotify and I'm looking for current R&B, I find myself going, this is R&B? This doesn't sound like. And what's his name? Daniel, what's his name?
Caesar?
Daniel Caesar?
Like, I listen to everything until I just don't like it. And I'm like, okay, that's enough. Stop talking. That's how I feel about DaBaby. I'm like, okay, that's enough. Let me pack you away and let me go back. So
totally agreeable.
I draw a line at the babies.
Even Lazy is like a mixture of grunge and like R&B, but at the same time, kind of like a folk kind of.
yes.
I just really like that. I like that part of the 90s too. I love R&B, but I also like some kind of music as well. So like the white music, I enjoyed that. So I like it that it's mixed together now, the R&B and the folk.
It does feel that way. Like Alanis Morissette encouraged some people. Yeah.
So Christelle, who is your, like, what's your music to like hook up to? I mean, like, do you, of the music that's out right now, do you have like, you don't have any music that you like?
I can't hook up to music because then I want to dance or then I want to sing. I'm like, oh, that's my part right there. Just never mind. Like, just the only sound is me and we make our soundtrack.
Make your own soundtrack. I ain't mad at that.
Yeah, that's dope.
Why not?
That is dope.
Because you're the DJ, so I know you listening to everything.
Unfortunately, begrudgingly so.
Any faves though?
And that's because I have to. But if I'm going to listen to it on my own, so a few of them were mentioned: SZA, Summer Walker, her, Jasmine Sullivan. I love her.
Well, how can I forget her?
Yeah, I love Jasmine Sullivan. Jevion, am I pronouncing that right? I call it Jevion, whatever.
It starts with a G though?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm showing my age. I've seen that on my playlist.
Yeah, he's pretty dope. Brent Faiyaz, of course, Silk Sonic. Rappers. I probably Drake is still in there. Drake, J. Cole, Kendrick.
Okay.
2 Chainz, but shit, he's our age.
Yeah, right.
Like all the newer, younger rappers, I won't diss them because that's their art, but it's not for me. I mean, when I play it, it's because I have to play it. I can't. One person I can't stand listening to, but I play him all the time is Future. I don't know what the man be saying. I can't stand his
His beats
Right.
be fire though. His beats be fire.
beats be super fire, and people love them, so I play them. But one of my big favorites is The Weeknd. I dig The Weeknd.
I hate him. Oh God.
You just hate his hair though. You just hate him.
I don't like his face. I don't like his, he sounds like he's whining to me. Sorry.
You like Keith Sweat though. You like Keith
Wow.
Sweat.
Right.
Oh, no. So do you guys remember when Kim first came out? A friend of mine, we were listening to it together, and she's like, he kind of sounds like Grover from Sesame Street. I was like, oh, wow.
Weeknd sounds like Grover.
No. Kim sounds like Grover.
Oh,
So I have that same, I have a cousin-like emotion about The Weeknd. When I hear him, I'm like,
crazy thing though is if you're riding in the car with me, you're more nowadays you're more than likely listening to the Throwback Station with me or Afro Beats and I'm a Piano. That's where I'm at right now.
yeah. Love Afrobeat.
Maxwell are like the same things with Maxwell and the Weeknd.
She is not feeling Maxwell whatsoever.
I know she's gonna keep firing at Maxwell.
Yep. Shots have been fired.
She will pull her hair out of this concert then because Maxwell was doing the most. It was a great show, but he was doing the most.
He was doing the most.
We saw him at Ravinia like some years ago.
Yeah, I saw him. I was at the time.
So
So let me ask you all this. So we've taken our walk down memory lane. We kind of talked about where we are today currently. For you, I won't speak for we can dive into the culture later, but for you, did the music kind of dictate how you saw and perceived and fell or did not fall in love at various points and stages of your life? Or do you think that it was just kind of a reflection of the state of love in our generation at that time? Or is it kind of a mixture of both? Like maybe it was a little bit of a mirror and maybe it was a little bit of they were going through the same things we were going through at the same age, so that's why they were singing about it.
Like male music was pushed the most, or maybe that's just me, but I felt like male R&B, male rap, it got pushed more, and because they say more things I want to say, I related to them more. But now female R&B is coming out way more stronger and rap too. So I feel like, okay, now I could really see myself in like the lyrics. But before I felt like, yeah, I was mirroring more of the guys and I was more aggressive. I remember I went on a date a long time ago, and at the end of the date, you know, I get in my car because he walked me to my car, and I was just some real hardcore stuff, man. And the guy was like, "This is what you listen to?" And I'm like, yeah. And I try to lower it. He's like, "That's why you're so aggressive. You need to stop listening to that stuff." And I was like,
You're
There
back.
he is.
The recording's in progress again.
But you're muted.
On mute.
Unmute.
My bad.
Can you hear me
Oh,
now?
no worries.
Messing with the wrong buttons. Keep going.
Oh no, I was just saying, like before, I fantasize about, like, oh well, if someone sang that song to me or whatever. And, not so much. Not so much like falling in love music.
My
right now.
music was so non-committal. I felt like I was gonna be a player for life. It was just crazy. I thought I was never gonna fall in love because my music was just so non-committal. I did not want to be in a relationship. I would play games. I would take some of the games these guys would go out and just like, yeah, I'm gonna do the same thing to these guys. And it actually worked. I was like surprised that, some of this horrible stuff I was listening to, it was actually working on dudes. So I gotta thank them for that.
Ours is just the opposite. Like, I relate more to Gina in terms of, because the earliest point that I can remember is like the Isley Brothers, girl, let me say it again, right? So as women, we were kind of propped up and yes, I'm listening and this all sounds so good. So by the end of the night, when Teddy Pendergrass says turn them off, I oblige. Do you know what I mean? And now, like, I can erase all that shit. You gotta, you know what I mean? Like, you know what it is. But I'm like, oh, do I know what it is? Can you soften this around the edges? Can I get a little more euphemisms from you?
Right.
But I'm old, so
And see, back in the day, as men, if you were smart, you would see that that's what you all are gravitating to and act accordingly. You would approach that woman that same way. That's why that song was on that doggone playlist.
right.
And I mean, to Brian's point, I think it's a little bit of both because that's what the younger dudes are doing. To Crystal's point, nowadays they're hearing what these dudes are saying and they're approaching young women like that.
There is
And you got us old heads sitting there looking like, who raised you? What?
Isn't it-
Like, how do you think she's going to be attracted to you? You said, hey, come on, let's go fuck. Like, you don't know her.
I'm gonna bring my friend, and you bring your friend too. Huh? What? Okay.
Right? Yeah,
But-
nobody has the mint condition approach. No one has that.
That's
You
out the
know,
window.
That's
But
Yeah, that's gone.
that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a waste. That's cake. That's bull.
Mid condition, shy. Again, Maxwell, no, Looper. Nobody's approaching. Like, are those days
You
gone?
gotta be working on somebody at some point in time, or you would adjust. Correct?
It's working to get to the ultimate end, which is fucking. But in terms of romance and actually building a relationship, there's nothing there. And there's not even there's still a fantasy because that's what people want to believe. But okay, so then now what? I mean, that's like the roller coaster starting at the bottom and never going up like this. So this is the ride? That's it? Oh, okay, I think I'm gonna get off now.
Definitely merging. Like now, like I said, like for example, the Stephen Lacey's, you get a little bit of toxicity, a little bit of romance, you get a little bit of fucking, but you get a little bit like take it slow. I'm not a hoe, but yeah, you kind of am. It's kind of like a mixture now, and I appreciate it because I feel like we all have a little bit of all that in us. Well, before it was just straight up love, and that's it. And sometimes that gets a little corny. Like you don't want to do it and be like, I love you, girl, all the time. You're gonna be like, dude, you're such a simp.
I think that's a key point. So I think back in the day, right? Back to my earlier story about my tapes, right? The first side of that tape was the romantic side, right? I felt like I had to cake you out them draws, and then I figured if that 45 minutes didn't do it, and that tape flipped over to the sex part, I was probably out the water anyway, so it didn't really matter. But you had to mix your artists up to get that right. There weren't a lot of artists that combined both. You'd have your Prince and you'd have your R. Kelly that could kind of romance you and sex you, but most of them kind of had their lane and they stayed in it. But to your point, Cristal, I think now it's a little bit more of a mixture, and you kind of get a little bit each in both. But here's what's funny about what you said earlier, Alexis, and I want Focus to kind of chime in on this one as my other man on the panel. So back in the day, right, like the point was to fuck. Let's not get it twisted. That was my ultimate.
That's the end goal.
That's the end goal. But
Right.
here's the thing. I had to kind of like go around the mulberry bush, right? And cake a little bit and spend a little time. And then I might
Mhm.
actually find that I like you, right? I had to reach that destination because I had to take that journey um, to get to my end game. And it's like, oh, damn, this girl done tricked me into liking her, motherfucker. Because that's
Mhm.
focus. Agree?
Absolutely. You mess around and look up, be like, ah, damn it, I'm jealous. I done caught feelings. That wasn't supposed to happen.
This was not my point.
It all started with me saying, sweet lady, would you be mine? And next thing I know, I'm like literally meaning that.
Right. I meant for tonight, and now I mean
Right.
for the rest of my life. This is
I'm like,
bull shit.
No, well, I think it was like the point before was to yearn for the sexual stuff, right? You wanted to yearn for it. You wanted to think about it in a way that was like more, I don't know, more intimate. Now it's like they want you to be horny. And I guess it's okay to be horny, but then you'll just jump right to it. But before it was like, oh man, I kind of love the buildup. I really, you know, you would talk when you were listening to R&B, you would talk for like 6 hours. And then when you flip the CD, that's when you're like, okay, let's go to the room and get comfortable. But like now it's more like, yeah, have this bottle of Hennessy, girl. Let's see what this, you know, where this night takes us.
on an empty stomach because I'm not paying for that. Yes.
Oh yeah, you gotta split the bill. Don't forget, you gotta split the bill. There is no more days are gone of the build up. You know, the build up, the sitting on the phone until one of y'all decide to get off. You know, sitting on the landline until one of y'all decide to get off or fell asleep on the other
Fell
one.
asleep.
Right, those days are gone. You know, it was a process to it, and to me, that was a big part of the fun, the big part of the experience. I don't know what it is these days.
Well, it's
It's the
interesting you say that, Focus. So, and, go ahead, Liz. What are you saying?
flooded market. Like everyone has access to everything. So what makes you special? If you can text me and 10 other people, good morning, love, at the same time, and I have no idea, what are we really doing?
True. What's funny that you say that?
Yeah.
My eldest, who's 21, has a girlfriend, and they just celebrated like a year a few months ago. They super cute, and he was home for Christmas, and I would go in my basement, and he would be on the phone, and I would come down there and I would be talking, and I wouldn't know he was on the phone because they weren't like communicating. They were just on FaceTime together, but nobody was saying anything. So we'd be having these full conversations, and then she'd be like, "Hey, Miss Foster," I'm like, "Oh shit, you was there the whole time." But what they were doing, to your point, they were watching Wednesday
Oh,
on
Sweet
Netflix. So they on
party.
FaceTime watching, but he would have it paused, and then they would pause it, and then when I would leave, he'd be like, "Are you ready? 1, 2, 3," and then they would like unpause it so they could watch it together. And I was like, "Are you a unicorn, or are people like kids shorties doing this shit? Or are you just
Right.
sip like dad? You might just be no sip like dad. I don't know.
Is that the new sitting on the phone thing now?
I think that's the
It,
new
summer
syndrome.
party.
it is.
We're still talking nowadays.
It's teleparty.
Are definitely talking for 1, 2, 3, 4 hours. It's just that people aren't really meeting others that are down for that. Like, I mean, I'm the type of person I'll talk for 4 or 5 hours. My partner is the type of person that will talk for 4 or 5 hours, and we don't have a problem with it. But the second I meet a guy who isn't down to talk for 6 hours on the phone, he gotta go. He got to go.
I like that you got a line. But it's funny that you even say that, because so people don't even exchange after a certain age phone numbers anymore. They just exchange Instagrams.
Instagram.
Or, yeah.
Yeah. That was the craziest thing happened to me. Somebody was inquiring about booking me, and I was going to reach for my contact. Like, I just contact you through Instagram.
Yeah. Yeah.
Threw me for a hard loop.
So Christelle, and right now, if you were to meet, if you were single and you were to meet somebody, you would exchange Instagrams or TikTok, or I don't what like.
My phone number.
Oh, you do phone numbers, okay.
My TikTok and my Facebook, that's too toxic. And I gotta work him into the toxicity. I can't just Yeah, that kind of power over me. Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So we're thinking, is it a so is it's a con, and I'm sorry I dead it out there for a minute, so I missed part of what you said, Gina. But we're thinking it's kind of a combo of the music definitely dictates kind of sets the mood in the moment maybe, but we kind of we're picking and choosing, right, what's playing at the time based on how we're feeling, what we want the outcome of this experience to be, so on and so forth. So it's kind of a mixture, right? And as Christelle said earlier, they're pumping out what's selling. So if I want to smack you in the ass and I want to lick your titty and come here girl, that Chris Brown reach over in the condom, ain't no more, fuck it, we're gonna get it in anyway, shit is what's selling,
Right.
then that's what they're gonna produce.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Because is that what we're thinking?
I would think so.
Yeah. And it goes back to that age-old saying, like, be mindful of your diet. You know, it's not just what you consume from your plate, it's what you choose to listen to. You know, Christelle actually talked about how that music was affecting her. You know, like the beats per minute in the music affects your heart rate. Like, so it's definitely getting to us. It's just a matter of what we're choosing to allow to get to us.
Alexis be so it's affecting your heart rate. You old.
I don't like you right now, by the way.
I think it's also got to be like kind of reinforced by your surroundings too. Like, so, you know, if you've got, you know, a toxic household, right? And you're listening to toxic music, then it's kind of playing together to create, you know, your disposition, right? I think I remember listening to music that was a little questionable. I didn't really have a toxic household growing up. And so it was a departure for me to listen to, you know, the music was a little, you know, off. But to Alexis's point, I mean, you have to be careful about what you consume. And, you know, when you started, like when people like, who's bringing up a point right now, Jesse, oh yeah, from the Eazy-E AMG era, if you're doing a lot of that NWA, you know, if you're you can make yourself angry, just kind of based on what you're feeding yourself all day. So, and then there were a lot of people who listened to that gangster rap who weren't at all hard, who decided they were going to be hard because they listened to.
You mean Tupac?
Yeah, Tupac. There we go. It's like you were not hard. Calm down. But yeah, you could definitely that a lot of that can transfer into your life if you're not careful. So I'm not sure. It probably feeds each other.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie, the music I listen to gives me the mindset now, which is if you're mine once, you're gonna be mine forever. That's the mindset that the music that I listen to puts me in. Yeah. So like I don't even feel no ways when I break up with somebody. I'm like, you mine forever. Oh well. Like that's how I feel now because of what I listen to. If I was listening to the stuff back then, it's like, all right, well, fuck you too then. And I'm gonna double text you, and then I'm gonna block you, and then I'm gonna unblock you, and then I'm gonna email you, even though I already blocked you and I can text you. That's how I was back then.
Oh, that's crazy. So let me ask this. So we've kind of taken the journey, the road to where we are, right now, what we listen to and all that good stuff, and how we think it affects us. Where do you think music is going in the future, and how do you think that's going to affect the generations after us? Like, is this what's old is what's new again, right? Will we see a renaissance of slow love? I'll give you the stars, the moons, and the mountains. Is that just never coming back? Is this only going to get worse? Like, where do we think R&B and hip hop is a decade from now?
How much worse are we getting?
Yeah, I mean, how bad can it get?
I didn't think we could get worse than Luke, but we got worse.
Ooh.
As we're getting super woke now, like and kids are into being high vibrational and people want to be more accepting. I think we're gonna merge even more. from Afro beats to like freaking Russian beats to like Lunaric beats. Like it doesn't matter. I think we're gonna merge into every possible beat possible. I think that's where we're gonna go. And then we're gonna merge all our lyrics together. That's what I think is gonna happen. Because people want to feel they know they feel all these different feelings all like during the day. They want to feel that in their songs now. So I think that's what's gonna happen. Everything's gonna merge like to the 10th degree.
You know, I don't really know what's gonna happen. I mean, you said we thought Luke was bad, but it got worse. I don't think it got worse. I think we got older. I think it's along the same lines. I think it's along the same lines. I mean, is Luke really that much worse than Lil Kim, which is that much and is Lil Kim that much worse than Meg Thee Stallion? I mean, to me, they're all on the same playing field.
You know what? Good point. Good point, Focus. Let me back that up. You're right. I don't know if it got worse than Luke because Luke was pretty raunchy.
Man,
I think it's just more prevalent. Let me say that. There's more of it. Like
Yeah.
Luke was an
well,
outlier.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but now you got City Girls and you got all like it's just more
Right, exactly. Luke blew the roof off of so many white folks' top, right? He blew their mind so crazy that they had to go to the Supreme Court, if I'm not mistaken. But now it's common.
Right.
It's common. You know, I have a residency out in Cherville, Indiana. The crowd is 90% white. And guess what they're asking for when they're requesting stuff? Meg Thee Stallion, Paula G, Lil Uzi Vert, like.
Focus, you take requests?
Well, I mean, honestly, that doesn't mean actually fulfill it. Now, sometimes, if the tip is right. But
I'll let you talk to Lee Farmer about that one, right?
oh man, Lee got stories for days, and they are hilarious. Lee has stories for days.
I get to hear them all day.
But yeah, like, you know, 30 years ago, they weren't listening to that, but then too, the culture was a lot different. They also weren't getting booty injections and trying to have their lips full like African American women too. So
Yeah, like I think the music, I mean, you know, it's a strong cornerstone of culture. And so ultimately it's cyclical. So at some point there'll be a return, but music is just as important today as it ever was. It just evolves with whatever it is. Because when you think about, I think about my daughter who's a junior in high school and how she's like, well, we just made a TikTok and I chose this song. He's talking to me, did you hear that lyric? And so, you know, above his head, there's a lyric, you know, in quotation marks. And she's like, and I liked it. I'm like, oh, wow. Okay, so this is that whole conversation, you know, so they're still sending messages to each other, utilizing music. They're still influenced by music. I think what Christelle said, I think it will broaden. And I think, you know, we'll have all the beats because there's so much access. Everyone has access to everything. And I think going back historically, part of why we didn't know about things because we just didn't have access unless you went to a blues concert or unless your dad was a blues artist, you know what I mean? But now they have access to everything from 5 when they hold a pad all the way, you know, to my age. Thanks, Brian. But anyway.
It's what's funny. That's funny. So when we would have to request a song on the radio and hope she was listening and hope we get through. Now they can just send a TikTok with their little messages.
Yeah.
That's where you get all your pertinent information.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That's where I get a lot of my recipes. Shit, I ain't gonna front.
Oh yeah.
What I do know though, Brian, is that even though I can't really predict where the music is going to go, I can bet you my bottom dollar that they'll still be sampling music from the 80s, 90s, 70s. They'll sample the stuff from 2000 now.
Yeah.
Bruh.
All
It's knowing me.
It's for R&B to slow down with being so overtly sexual and not leaving anything to the imagination, because it's starting to sound really redundant and boring. And I don't want to play it around my family. I don't want to play it around my teenager. I know that he thinks about those things, but I don't want to inspire it sooner than he needs to, I just don't want to inspire it too soon. So yeah, that's all I really want from R&B, just to tone it down a bit and become more creative. I know entendres are cool, but sometimes the double entendres are corny. So they gotta figure out how to make them a little bit better instead of using the same damn lines.
But what influences that? It's kind of like a give take thing. They put the music out, it influences a generation, and then they keep buying it. So they keep putting it out. It's a cycle. So what, how do you break that? How do you get back? Brian asked the question, will we ever get back to that? I don't know. We would have to the consumer has to actually make that shift so that the artists put out that type of music.
Yeah. So that yeah.
And with everybody, having production and whatnot in their bathroom and in their basement nowadays, because technology makes it that easy.
Right.
I think all you need is one, right? I think you just need one person or one artist or one group that blows up, and they're doing that kind of music. Then everybody's, oh, okay. So I think it'll happen, but I think more to Cristal's point, I think it's going to be this fusion of all these different beats and blends and voices, and that's going to be where it kind of goes. But some group or some artist is going to come around, and we're going to be like, oh my God, this is the new Mariah Carey or whatever. Some voice is going to come and surface, and then that trend will. Now, I don't think it's ever going to go back to where it was, but we'll have a little bit more of it mainstream, because there is some of it, a little bit, but you got to dig for it. And I think that's what we're saying, that you get something that's more easily accessible.
Before that,
always swings, right?
Right.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
I said, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just like, I know, I just making a quick point, but go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Before that artist becomes the artist, they were a kid. And so I think that at home, the parents have to talk to them about sex and romance and stuff in a different way. You got to give them more intentional conversation, more mindful and thoughtful conversations about these things. When they go out there and they make music, they create better music. They decide, I want to be an artist. They were like, yo, my mom influenced me, and my dad influenced me to think this about sex. And before you know it, they even talk to their friends about their point of view about love and sex and passion. And their friends are like, you know what? That actually makes more sense. And that's kind of how we connect the dots. And then they have the support as a young artist to make that kind of music. But if we're all playing the same raggedy music to our kids and we're not telling them, what sex is to us in a more thoughtful way, then they're going to continue to create the same music over and over. It's like everybody's thinking the same.
So it's on us.
While in alignment to this conversation that you give, because you know what our children do. We're on mute. They're basically just watching what we do. So you can talk about how you feel about this, but if they see you living, polar opposite, then. But I definitely agree.
Cool. All right, crew. We are running on time, so I do want to give everybody a minute to have any final reflections, any final thoughts on this topic. This actually went way different than I thought it was going to go. These were some extremely interesting viewpoints. I thought we was gonna shit on current music and just like, get off my lawn, you kiddos. I was hoping that's not what was gonna happen, but I thought that's the way it was gonna go. So I'm glad we had a little bit more of a well-rounded discussion. But everybody, I'm Alexis, final thoughts?
Whatever is next, I have to pay attention to it because I have young people and I work with young people. So I'm always going to listen to it. And in education, I'm always going to talk. So that's it.
There it is. Cristal?
I want to love Maxwell and the that. Like, change my mind. Change my mind, Maxwell. I really want to. I want to be down. That's it.
Let me text my man Maxwell. He gonna have to come to your house and give a little tiny desk concert or something. Cause this,
Hey,
Yeah. Let Maxwell name her once or twice. Let's get that Maxwell hate up out of.
Give him a song about falsetto. Let's try with that.
there you
mhm.
Is there one? I don't know. There is one.
go. All of them. Focus. What you got?
You know what? I am forever and always gonna be a 80s and 90s baby when it comes to music. Hip hop, house, R&B, all of that from the 80s and 90s. That's my thing. But one thing as being a DJ has taught me is to embrace. I don't necessarily have to like it, but embrace the newer music and the newer artists. Give constructive criticism without shitting on because it is art, right? Give the constructive criticism, but also let them know that, hey, do your thing, be you, be who you are, and keep going. And the music gonna speak for itself. It's gonna evolve how it's gonna evolve. I've come to learn that we're not getting the 90s back. As much as I love it, we're not getting it back. So I'm either have to embrace it or be a hater, as they say. So I choose to embrace it, push them. I don't have to actually listen to it, but I'll support them as they do it.
Fair enough. G to B, what you
I
think?
think that, the thing I always think about music is that you have to remember that when the artist wrote that song, it was a moment in time.
Mhm.
And it isn't a forever attitude they have. It's like, this is a thought they came up with. This is like the song is just a sliver of their lives. And so I have never agreed with, oh, my love life is going to be like the song played out. I mean, hopefully you have moments in time where you have adore moments. Maybe sometimes you have moments in time where you have Luther Campbell moments, but you don't have to define your love life and your romance by a song or a genre. Like you can find something interesting in lots of genres if you want to kind of pull some of the romance or the sex or whatever they're looking for out. So
Facts. Well, I want to. Oh, I'm sorry, you got me looking for a song now. So I want to thank you guys for joining me on this. This was an awesome conversation. My final thoughts around it. To your point, Focus. So the Temptations, the Four Tops, the Marvelettes, the Vandals, all that stuff, that never came back. That sound just never came back. The Teddy P's, the Marvin Gayes, the Stevie Wonders. I mean, that just the bands, for example, the OJs, who am I thinking on the band side? Earth, Wind and Fires, all those type of folks. You had your mint conditions and stuff that kind of carried that baton, but that left and that never really came back. But it evolved, right? Like, so I love the OJs and I love Tony. So it's not that we can't now find something in this era that we love. Because I love look, I ain't go front. I really, really like Justin Bieber. Fuck y'all. But I really, really like Justin
I
Bieber.
agree. Don't that, but I do agree.
I'm not down with the Biebs. Go ahead.
I didn't like Justin Bieber because his hair got on my nerves.
I think he's good. But anyway.
I hated that.
He's just John B. reinvented.
I saw John B last night at City Winery.
See, there it is.
There
I
it
mean,
is.
was going. I went. That's a surprise. I mean, but it was good.
I got my own John B thoughts. Anyway, like him though, he was cool as hell. So,
Yeah, good job.
well, what I guess where I want to end on it is that, like, you'll find your lane, you'll find your niche. To your point, Dennis, the artists are gonna be the artists. I want them to do their thing, but I do want, to Christelle's point, I want them to be more aware of what they're putting out, how they're influencing our youth, because they are our media influence. And but Alexis, to your broader point, we have to be right the the real blueprint for who our children are going to be and how they're going to love and how our young men appreciate our young women, how our young women appreciate our young women, how our young men appreciate our young, like how everyone loves and appreciates each other. We got to set that blueprint. And if we're going to be, if we're going to be hypocritical about it, then we definitely can't blame Lil Uzi Vert or or the City Girls for where our kids wind up, because hell, we weren't any better, to be frank. We were walking hypocrites, so let's not be there. Another great episode. Appreciate you all. Saturday, I'm coming back with a movie review. I haven't decided which yet. I think we done, I like to do my black movies. I think I'm gonna go off the beaten path though. I'm feeling like a gangster flick. So I think I might have a little Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci moment on Saturday.
Okay.
That could be a
Talking my language.
Yeah, so I think that's where I'm going. I'll let you all know tomorrow. And until then, next week we'll be right back here. I think Chantel will be back. I don't know. She might never leave her mansion again. This might just be it. I don't know. We miss you, Sean. I appreciate you all for joining me. I appreciate you all for watching. On that note, we're gonna go out with Little Prince. Because damn it, y'all made me think about him.
Yay.
But not a door.
I thought you were gonna do some Maxwell, but
Oh no, I don't want her head to explode. We're gonna do something little.
She's like, I can't take it.
Prince is a nasty little motherfucker.
There'll never be another Prince.
Peace out.